Over the years, anyone who's been following Rolex has likely noticed how it's been making completely unprecedented moves and experimenting with all new designs. With this year's entries including watches like the Oyster Perpetual Bubble, it's becoming pretty clear that Rolex is becoming increasingly comfortable with expressing its experimental side. The Rolex Air King has received the same treatment. Over time, this watch has received some updates in its design. In 2016, this iconic timepiece got a completely new look, and it's shocking to see something like this coming from a brand like Rolex, which usually only makes minor updates to its subsequent models each year. The reference 116900 is very different from its ancestors, and there's a special reason for it. In 2022, with the release of the 126900, the new updates to the Air King have established this watch as one of the most unique timepieces in Rolex's diverse lineup. You're probably wondering why we're hyping up this watch so much, and today's video here is to answer that question. So, if you're curious to see what some people call the least Rolex watch to come out of the Rolex factories, keep watching, because this is something no watch enthusiast would want to miss. Of course, to understand what makes any watch unique, it's vital to understand the historical context surrounding it. The Rolex Air King was first released in 1945 with the reference 4925. This watch featured a fairly straightforward design. The watch was known for its simplicity, featuring a steel case and bracelet with an uncluttered and classic dial, featuring clear and legible Arabic numeral hour markers, mixed with line markers. With time, subsequent updates led to the complete abandonment of Arabic numerals and featured only line markers, emphasizing precise legibility. The text on the dial changed multiple times as well, along with the minute and hour hands, and the Rolex logo featured on the dial. What was common among all iterations in the Air King's lifetime was its aviation-themed design, since it was initially marketed towards the wrists of Royal Air Force pilots in World War II. Hence, the watch was sought out by anyone who wanted something simple from Rolex that wasn't too flashy and had a more subtle aesthetic. All of this was thrown out the window with the introduction of the 116900, and the new generation of Air King became a statement piece. So, what changed? How has a change in dial completely changed what people associate with the Air King? Well, what changed was Rolex's intentions to stick with the aviation theme. Straying away from the initial tactic of making something that resonated with pilots, Rolex decided to ground themselves by making the Air King dial an exact replica of the dashboard technology used in the Bloodhound SSC, including a chronograph and speedometer designed by Rolex, which is why the dial features numeral markers with increments of 5 instead of the standard 12, 3, 6, and 9. The Bloodhound Supersonic car, or Bloodhound SSC, is a highly ambitious project that first began in 2008. The car is powered by jet engines and is thought to be capable of traveling 1,000 miles per hour. The previous record was set by the Thrust SSC at 763.035 miles per hour in October 1997. While the car has yet to break the record, the project is still alive after having multiple changes in ownership. Currently, the highest speed the Bloodhound has achieved is 628 miles per hour. Rolex announced its partnership with Bloodhound as co-designers in 2011 and has contributed greatly to some really important components in the car. The speedometer on the left side of the cockpit records the speed of the car, while the chronograph on the right tracks the 60 minutes of the speed trials. Interestingly enough, both instruments are fully analog, since they're apparently easier to read. The instruments are built to withstand extreme conditions of up to 65 degrees Celsius and very strong vibrations. Of course, this isn't the first time Rolex has been involved in similar endeavors. Back in 1930, Sir Malcolm Campbell wore the Oyster Perpetual on his wrist while setting the 9-speed record at Daytona Beach. Despite not being an official ambassador, he publicly showed appreciation for the watch's ability to withstand shock and vibration resistance. Given Rolex's history with motorsports, being involved in breaking the land speed record seems on brand for the company. The latest iteration of the Air King has taken everything from the 2016 model and subtly improved the design to create something that is a sight to behold. The initial reference 116900 had no crown guards, a 40mm case, 48mm lug-to-lug measurement, and a thickness of 13.5mm, which is quite big. The bracelet also featured an engraved strap lock with a single lock system. Overall, the watch had a sporty look, but the dimensions and the fact that the dial lost some legibility due to the polished white gold 3, 6, and 9 markers, which couldn't be seen in the dark, made this iteration lose some of its sportiness. When the new Air King was announced, though, Rolex seemed to listen to their customers and improved all those aspects for a much more aesthetic design. Compared to the case of the 116900, which had a case similar to the Milgauss, the 126900 opted for the same case as the GMT Master 2, with sharper lines, flatter sides, and crown guards. The crown guards in particular are quite off-brand for Rolex, since none of their previous watches feature crown guards with an absence of a functional bezel. They upgraded the movement inside from a 3131 movement in the previous version to a 3230 movement in the latest version. Because of this, the dimensions of the case have changed as well. The case is now almost 2mm thinner at 11.5mm, which is especially amazing since this new movement retains its anti-magnetic qualities, without needing a separate inner case that contributes to thickness. The dial is increased by 0.8mm, and the lug-to-lug measurement has decreased to 47mm, but the lug width has increased by a millimeter, making the size even bolder on the wrist. As for the dial, Rolex typefaces and fonts have been retained with the yellow Rolex crown on top and the green Rolex logo that matches the seconds hand. The 3, 6, and 9 markers are now white, like the rest, but have a polished edge and are also luminescent, all of which have significantly increased the dial's legibility and made it much more sporty, as it should be. Some minor but significant changes include a bigger Mercedes hour marker and a single-digit 5 at the 1 hour mark, now having double digits, which has made the dial much more symmetrical. The bracelet now features a double clasp system and has a protruding Rolex logo on the snap lock mechanism instead of the engraved version. All of these subtle refinements in the watch's design have given the new Air King design a much needed and highly appreciated upgrade, making the Air King much more fitting to the Rolex brand. As part of the Oyster Perpetual lineup in the Rolex collection, the Air King is similarly offered as an entry-level watch. For approximately $10,000, the Air King offers a fairly affordable price for what is perhaps one of the most unique pieces Rolex has ever made. Even though Rolex partnered with a land vehicle and diverged from their initial pilot-themed marketing for this timepiece, the watch still hasn't lost its aviation heritage, and its rich history makes it a beautiful piece to buy for any Rolex enthusiast. This is arguably one of the sportiest sports watches made by Rolex, and it seems to be something loved by one of the greatest athletes alive. The 126900 was worn by world champion tennis player Roger Federer during one of the most significant moments in his life, his farewell. During such an emotional moment in his career, seeing Federer wearing an Air King goes to show that this watch has a lot of potential for attachment. Many who have initially been wary of the complete overhaul in the Air King's design have quickly warmed up to it once it was on their wrist, and people have often said that no picture can do justice to just how great this watch looks in reality. All in all, the Air King 126900 is a testament to Rolex's consistent ingenuity and drive to make amazing timepieces that are new and refreshing while paying homage to their long-standing history. Out of every watch brand out there, Rolex is probably the one with the richest history, and the fact that they're able to completely redesign a cult classic like the Air King while still staying true to the roots of the original goes to show that every new watch coming from the Rolex workshops has a lot of genuine thought and care behind it. The people at Rolex love their work, and the commitment to creating something that's bound to shock people while still managing to fly off shelves goes to show just how passionate they are about giving the customers what they want. Moreover, it's rare to see such a huge multi-billion-dollar company like Rolex consider feedback and use it to their advantage to give the people what they want, and the subtle yet massive improvement made for the 126900 goes to show that a little consideration for your audience goes a long way. It's likely that we aren't going to see another Air King for a while, considering how the two iterations have a 6-year difference between them. Nonetheless, we're sure all of you are as excited as us to see how Rolex improves on this glorious watch.